Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Forward Thinkers Talk series. My name is Dr. Ivo Pezzuto. I'm a professor of economics and management and the founder of Ivo Pezzuto Forward Thinking Lab. In this space, we invite prominent and emerging entrepreneurs, company leaders, forward thinkers, in order to share their thought-provoking ideas and expertise on business, emerging markets, trends, technology, and sustainable business model. I'm very pleased today to have here with us a great entrepreneur, CEO, and company leader, Lorenzo Carnelli. Lorenzo is the CEO, member of the board of directors and shareholders of FRIEM. FRIEM is an Italian company headquarters in Segrate, Milan, specialized in the design and production of electrical converters for special applications. Lorenzo, thank you very much. Welcome, and thank you very much for being here with us.
Hello, Ivo. Thank you very much to you, and good morning, everyone.
Thank you again. So, FRIEM is a leading Italian company in the power converters. And in this sector, FRIEM is a company with a long tradition, 70 years of history, 70-year-old family business, rapidly evolving and pursuing bold and environmentally friendly growth strategies in the global electric energy converter market. So it's a very important industry for the future. And FRIEM is a real leader among one of the 4 leading companies internationally in this environment. And by the way, just to give some additional information about FRIEM, we could say that FRIEM is an Italian company, but is also de facto born global, as we could call it, enterprise, born global enterprise, since it has more than 90% of its revenues made abroad. So it's really for foreign revenues, it's one of the big components of its business. The world is a FRIEM marketplace thanks to its international presence in various countries. You have operations in 27 countries across 5 continents, in addition to subsidiaries in international markets. In particular, if I remember correctly, FRIEM operates with headquarters in Italy, FRIEM Group SPA, but also you have FRIEM America Ltd, you have a FRIEM Latam and RLI, and you have FRIEM in Chile, FRIEM Germany, and the commercial office in Indonesia. And also FRIEM has recently taken over, did acquisition in the United States of a company called Denham Group, a manufacturer of the current system, and other collaborations and with company like TCE Consultores, and also FNF, a joint venture with the Seri Group, and others. I think more recently you've had also very interesting partnership on the green hydrogen production with a company called BECFI, which is a world leader for hydrogen production and distribution equipment, and particularly providing power supply units. So it's a lot of stuff, a real leader in this area, and a real powerhouse for what it matters regarding the production of high current rectifiers necessary for the electrolysis processes and the production of power converters for, to supply big and mid-size electrolyzers for the green hydrogen production. So you're a big player in the hydrogen production. And if I remember correctly, the mission of the company revolves around utilizing renewable energy sources such as wind and solar power to generate electricity for the electrolysis process. So this is a very interesting thing. And final thing, Your main business lines include power converters for hydrogen electrolysis, power converters for fuel cells, BEV, battery electronic vehicles recharging infrastructures for e-mobility, and battery energy storage systems, and also energy conversion systems, system integration, and after-sales support and service. So I said a lot of stuff. Now, going to the specific question, Lorenzo, let me ask you this thing. It's amazing the story of your company, how you're bringing forward this important mission, especially in a strategic industry for the future of Italy, Europe, and the world. Your family company, Lorenzo, FRIEM, has been ranked among top companies globally in the current rectifiers and large electrolytic industry, and a relevant player in the green hydrogen supply chain. Can you explain to us how did a medium-sized firm how did it become an emerging international player in the electrical converter industry, and more recently in the fast-growing green hydrogen market? How did you make it to turn this business in something so important, so strategic in your strategic choices?
Yeah, so thank you first of all for introducing FRIEM and introducing myself. Let's say the answer to the question is mainly in what you already introduced. So mainly our positioning today is based on the history of our company. The market we are working in, we are involved in, is, let's say, a niche market. So we talk about the energy conversion, so the power converter, what are called the power converter, but the power converter for the big industrial electrolysis processes. This has been our history. So we talk about the big chemical plants, mainly the chloralkali plants, producing the basic chemicals like chlorine, chlorate, and so on. And then this kind of processes includes even the electrolytic refining of non-ferrous metals, so the refining of copper, zinc, aluminum, and so on, plus other special applications that are requiring, let's say, big or special power converters. So in this very specific business, FRIEM has really focused during the history, so really starting from the 50s. And so thanks to this really specialization, we have been able to gain year after year our market share that we have today. Of course, in the last years we have been trying to push a lot for the growth internationally, as you mentioned. But let's say it's really a long path that started more than 70 years ago. And then, so this is to mention that for us today, being number 3 or number 4 in this very niche or specific market is really a job that started my grandfather in the 50s, and that we are just improving in the last years, and with ambitious targets, because we are aiming to become number 1 or number 2 in this business. And then let's say how we have been able to achieve this, as mentioned, being really focused on such a niche market. So trying to make a perfect alignment among the main requirements of this business and the values of our company. So the values of our company are responsibility, passion, quality, and sustainability. And all these are really necessary, or I would say even mandatory, if you want to be successful in this specific market, because we make special equipment, but we make those kind of equipments that are maybe not very big in value compared to the value of the complete plant, of the complete system, because typically our equipment is in the range of maybe 10%, 15% of the value of the complete plant investment. So it's, let's say, a small value, but it's a very important brick, because from our equipment depends directly even the production. And so if our equipment stops, you stop a complete line of production of a chemical plant. And so this is, let's say, anyway, a key or a critical equipment. And so our values, like responsibility and quality, means reliability towards our customers. And so this has been a key factor, a key differentiating factor of FRIEM compared to other competitors. And from this point of view, our main competitors are big multinational companies, much bigger than FRIEM, but are all companies that have, let's say, similar positioning in terms of quality and market approach. Just to confirm that this is really a key factor. So this matching between the value of the company and the market requirements have been, I think, a strong background and a strong basis of our success, and still it's something on which we are leveraging in our growth today. And how we have been able to transfer this, let's say, in the energy transition, you already mentioned. So mainly because the part of the energy transition that we selected as our field of focus is the green hydrogen, as you mentioned. So green hydrogen is produced by electrolysis, and so it's exactly, let's say, the same kind of process that you can find, of course, chemical wise is different, but the approach is the same, that you can find in the other sectors I mentioned before. So there is really a kind of synergic similarity between our traditional industrial business and the green hydrogen.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very, very insightful, very useful. Thank you for explaining this part and the mission and the passion and the commitment. And by the way, we hear a lot today this focus, the strategic focus on green transition, on sustainability, sustainable energies, and green hydrogen in particular as a major contributors for the decarbonization of various energy-intensive industry and sectors, including, of course, transportation, industrial manufacturing, power generations, and many others that are highly energy-intensive. So your company is actually pursuing these goals and providing innovative solutions in terms of converters, electrolyzers, but also energy storages and other stuff, working also on an EV charging system. So the question that I would like to ask you, now it's very big, this thing of the green hydrogen and the transition. What motivated you and your organizations to fully embrace the transition to green hydrogen way before others? You know, you've been really anticipating this trend a few years before, and more in general, your commitment to sustainability. You know, what really made you believe that green hydrogen would be the future, you know, would be the strategic choice for the future of our industries and for your company, and as one of the most important renewable energy sources of the future? How did it all start? Why did you make this decision, you and your team?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's important to mention that the key decision that we did was to have a part of the business of FRIEM connected or devoted to the energy transition. This was our decision back in, let's say, late 2017, beginning of 2018. FRIEM is manufacturing power converters, And just the definition of energy transition means that power converters are for sure involved in, or can be involved in different ways, in different matters, in different applications as well. So our target was, okay, we have our industrial business and we are doing well and we have still space to grow, and that's what we are doing. But to really have a vision about the future of the company, but in the next decades, really we decided to move towards the energy transition. And so started a very, let's say, interesting period of time, because we started, our company is small, but compared to the size of the company, we had even some financial, let's say, capabilities. So we started making some small investments in different fields in the energy transition. So you mentioned the battery energy storage systems, you mentioned as well the electric mobility and so on. And so we started investing with some startups, some activities, developing some products, and this, honestly, each and every of these businesses have really huge potential growth. Each and every market analysis is showing that these markets are going to be huge in the next years. But here comes, let's say, the second decision that we had to do. The first one, okay, FRIEM must be in the energy transition. And the second one was, okay, we have to select, since we have limited resources, we have to select, let's say, one primary business that is going to be our strategic business together with our traditional business. And this was the green hydrogen, as you anticipated. So at the end of 2020, after having had already some experiences in that business, we decided the green hydrogen to be our strategic target. How the decision came? Honestly, it came as I anticipated before. So commenting that the green hydrogen production is a kind of production that is closer to our market, and so for FRIEM the opportunity was closer, and the, let's say, the possibility to be successful, of course, were higher compared to maybe other businesses, and this was really the decision. Then the fact that green hydrogen is going to be a, let's say, a driver, of course, if you wish, Ivo, of course I can tell and so on, but honestly, it's not me. There are several studies and analyses that are, let's say, explaining how green hydrogen is involved in the energy transition. And I just, let's say, gave you, let's say, the path that we followed in the last years, just to define that green hydrogen is our strategic target today. We have is saying, let's say, inside FRIEM, what we call a motto that is innovation or evolution through continuity. Okay, so because in order to be successful in this new business, of course, we, from the very beginning, we decided that we had to leverage our experience, our values, and our capabilities. And so this is strictly in connection to the decision of being in the green hydrogen.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's very, very exciting. Which leads me to the next question I wanted to ask is basically, what are the capabilities and unique, competencies and the drivers that brought you to this innovation model that you are defining, embracing the green transition and the green hydrogen in particular. And it was coming to my mind that probably from what you were saying, it's very likely that you're combining, sort of a market pull innovation from the demand market for green sustainable energy solutions, green hydrogen and others, but also core competencies, core capabilities at the company, which allow this this match, to close the gap and to find this match for a competitive advantage that you have in this domain, in these technologies, and the ability to match the market, emerging market trends, and together with the key core competencies and capabilities and mission of the organization. In this sense, I was wondering, do you, in particular, I was wondering if you are considering this model, and this model is driving also, you said, e-mobility, circular economy, and other practices. So more in particular, how is the FRIEM business model and value chain integrated in the broader green hydrogen supply chain network at the national and European level, international level? We know that these days we hear a lot about the Italian and the Mediterranean key role in the green hydrogen basically supply chain hub. It's strategic for Europe, for Northern Africa, for the European the energy strategy of the future. So, and your company has a central role, a central position in the value chain, both in the power to gas and gas to power processes. And I was wondering, in particular, how do you see this thing? How do you see your company role in the value chain, the integrated value chain of green hydrogen value chain in Italy, in Europe, now and moving forward in the years to come at national, international level? Where do you see this going? Now, we know that Italy has a central location in the Mediterranean, making it an ideal location to become a hub for the hydrogen trade. So many analysts argue that a decentralized power grid with the flexible electrolyzers could provide a viable solution in the future to scale up the system. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah. So it's let's say a kind of discussion that brings even to strategic consideration about the role of Italy and Europe in general. So I would start from this. I was this morning in a conference in Asso Lombarda, here in the downtown of Milan, and there was a presentation of a report done by ISPI, that is a research institute, talking about let's say the global situation and the expectation for next year. But the main points that are coming out are, the first point is connected to energy. So electric energy is anyway a driver today for each and every economy, and so there is the necessity of becoming more and more independent from the energy point of view, if you want to have a competitive industrial environment. In Italy, of course, we have a very bad starting point because we have zero resources in terms of gas, oil, and so on. But as you mentioned, we can have a good, a positive position if we think about renewable energies, and if we think about even hydroelectric energy, that is another renewable source. So if you think about solar, wind, and hydro, Italy can really improve a lot its competitiveness, industrial competitiveness, considering the energy production point of view. This can be, of course, extended to some other areas in Europe. So basically, the renewables today, my thinking, and it's not only my thinking, there were even some other entrepreneurs or let's say managers or whatever that are really considering that the renewables can provide an alternative positioning to those countries that do not have oil and gas, like Italy and like other countries in Europe. So I think this must be a strategic way to move forward. There are other opportunities. We know very well France with the nuclear. This is a clear sample. So just to sustain their industry or their competitiveness, they have invested in nuclear. Right or wrong, I don't care, but it is to explain that this is the target. And this can be a great background to leverage then the energy transition that you were mentioning before, because to decarbonize our industry, our energy, and everything, of course, renewables are the first step. So in this case, we would have two main benefits. First one, improving our competitiveness in the energy field, and the second, moving quickly, fast, and strongly towards the energy transition. And then the second consideration is on the industrial level. So as we consider, let's say, the energy transition an opportunity for FRIEM, mainly for the future of FRIEM to grow and to be, let's say, healthy and sustainable for the next decades. So thinking about 2040, 2050, and so on, we decided to look and to invest in the energy transition. The same approach is what the European Union has been trying to set up. In this sense, I think it was really great to hear the European community moving forwards this energy transition in a strong way, because I really think this can be an opportunity for the European industry to find a place for the future. Okay, really an industrial positioning based on this kind of, let's say, business. Mm-hmm. So let's say in a very large scale, the same thing that we decided for FRIEM, I believe, should be a driver for Europe as well. So this, I think, should be the position of Europe. So really being a leader in these fields in terms of new technologies, new ways, and the application of the technologies, which is another key point, of course. And the main issue today is how to do it.
Absolutely. And by the way, thank you for this insightful detail. So you basically say the roadmap is clear, for FRIEM and for the other companies at national and international level on this industrial policy, on this energy strategy to compete globally, to improve the competition globally, and to have affordable energy costs and abundant for the future in order to compete with other important players in the world, like the US, China, and other big players in the global in that. Of course, we learned the hard way in the last couple of years with the energy problems we had, following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We learned the hard way with the pressures and difficulties in sourcing energy and whatever. We learned the hard way that energy is a key component for competitiveness in industrial production. It impacts on the cost, so there is also implications for inflation and so on. So that's definitely something we learn, how critical it is efficient energy for competing. And in this sense, the national, international, supranational energy transition plans, Europe and moving forward are definitely very important for the decarbonization and the transition, the whole goal of climate neutrality by 2050. And we know that we've seen recently what incredible impact this policy are having on both sides of the ocean. In the US with the Inflation Reduction Act, which is actually encouraging a lot of investments in renewables, and also in Europe with the European Repower EU plan, the EU Green Deal Industrial Plan, and so on. And all those tax incentives, regulatory aspects, regulated asset-based models, contracts for difference and carbon credits, and everything that goes with that. So the thing I was wondering is, on this matter, thank you already for introducing this point, are this policy and plan, according to you now at the European level, supercharging the economic growth model for the future, providing a smooth, scalable, and sustainable transition to climate neutrality? And will be Europe able to thrive in the years to come and to compete, to withstand global competition from other blocs? Are EU companies timely building adequate infrastructures, including storage, to support rapid expansion of renewables, reduce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions, and achieve a leadership position internationally, or while still falling behind? We still have to do more. There's a lot more investments to be done to overcome some constraints and regulatory limitations.
Let's say the first or the immediate answer for me would be yes. I believe that Europe can be a major player, as said before, in approaching this, let's say, part of the energy transition as an industrial opportunity, because okay, FRIEM is just one sample, but there are a lot of companies in Italy and in Europe that are really world leader in several key parts of different business in the energy transition. In the green hydrogen, I can mention today, but really the main, especially in the production of green hydrogen, that is our, let's say, main target today. Not only FRIEM, but there are really main worldwide players are European. So the answer is yes. It's a matter of investments, as you mentioned. And these, of course, are playing a key role, especially at the beginning of a completely new business like green hydrogen. Because whichever investment today in the green hydrogen is not self-sustainable. And so you have really to allow this business, if you believe in the business, you have really to allow the business to grow and to reach a point in which it is going to be self-sustainable. And
so
the European Union, incentives and subsidies must be there. The European Union put, of course, a lot of money there, but you already mentioned the US did even something more with the IRA that you mentioned, but even before with the BIL, they really tried to, let's say, set up or reshore, let's say, a lot of the industrial production inside the country. European Union, honestly, has done good steps, but has been the first mover on this field. So this has been great, but still we are lacking today, I think, on one side, maybe some power in the kind of investment, but the main issue is related to the policies, because investment without policies in something that is new is you cannot move on. not only Europe has got troubles in doing these policies, and so in allowing this new business to develop, and by the way, to leverage the incentives that should be provided to really to put it on the ground. But European Union is not the only one that is striving with this issue. In the US is let's say is exactly the same. So I think who is going to not only to put more money, but really who will be able to find the right policies in order to let this business grow will be or will have a competitive advantage compared to the others. Europe has started earlier, and we can do it. Let's say that. So, and as I was saying, I think we have several leaders in Europe that can even support this kind of business and this kind of growth. But the European Union is not really famous for being, very fast and smart then in finalizing the policies. And this is a little bit, let's say, worrying. While usually the US are, pretty straight.
Of course. Europe have been 27 countries with the exit of the UK. Of course, finding an agreement that's definitely, by definition, more complex than a single country with more, unified, centralized control in many ways, currency, language, federate state, So definitely Europe, because of its configuration, inevitably it's a bit more articulated. So yeah, I agree with you very much. And getting back to this point of the incentives and the support and sustaining of this transition, what role do you think green finance, sustainable finance, impact, social responsible investments, SRI, are playing, according to you, in supporting growth strategies towards green hydrogen expansion goals and climate neutrality targets more in general? How important do you think is the contribution of this green investing and institutional investors, venture capital equity funds, to support, public-private contribution, the firm's scalable long-term growth strategy to a more resilient growth model for this transition? I know that in particular, your company has also relied on important contribution on this side, Fondo di Investimento Italiano SGR, which is part of Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, owned by the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance, and other institutions have also invested in your company, and basically FRIEM has relied also on this support for the acquisition of the Dian MP LLC in the US. And so do you see in general this green and sustainable finance as a key booster, key contributor for the expansion of this project of internationalization and sustainability in this space? Is this a key role, private and public finance, sustainable finance, as key drivers for the future of decarbonization and sustainable investments?
Yeah, going towards, let's say, the private investment, the role is going to be critical. I totally agree with you on this. Let's say from this point of view, the main target is how it is becoming then, let's say, sustainable in sense of an investment. Going towards this new challenges. It can be of course difficult and requires investment and so on. And so even a company like FRIEM decided to really get stronger, involving an institutional partner like you mentioned, Fondo Italiano di Investimenti. So of course it's very important that a company can rely on this kind of support in order to make new investment and leverage this opportunity for growing. The critical part here can be how really this return of investments are going to be sustainable, and not only if, because in some fields, let's say you are at such an initial stage that you are not even sure that this kind of business or business model is going to be successful from a financial or economical point of view. And there are several samples in this sense, for example, in the renewables and so on. So we have been working several years in the mini grid systems, and honestly, the main issue there was really to make the project sustainable from the financial and economical point of view, and it was almost most of the time this was really the critical part. So technology is there, everything is there, but if it is not self-sustaining economically, the private investment are going to be anyway limited. And so there is this kind of first, let's say, selection to be done. The second part is, as I mentioned, connected to depending to the time that is required, because these kind of businesses are starting. Of course, we believe in the green hydrogen, and so we are confident that the green hydrogen today is still a market, even though a very, very small market, and tomorrow it will grow, but it will take years and years. And from this point of view, some, let's say, private financial institutions maybe are not compatible because they look to a much shorter term. So if you look at the 3 or 5 years term, probably it's too short. You have to think maybe from 5 to 10 years to really see big growth or return, because you can have big growth, but in the meanwhile you even have a big investment, and so
I
difficult balance.
Well, so basically what you're saying is that you need patient money, you need a patient investor for a number of years, because it takes a certain time period before you can get a real robust return on investment, but also probably because of strategic reasons. Here we're talking about energy industry, so it's something that's also very important for strategic sectors. And so in that sense, the public fund could have an important role because of this aspect.
Yeah, Ivo, sorry, just then, let's say, if you look about if you look, for example, at the stock exchange, as the stock market, you see that several companies that are involved in energy transition or in green hydrogen, maybe they have anyway important valuation on the market, even though they are losing money every year. So of course there is even a kind of, let's say, of return that is not only depending, let's say, on the revenues or on the BTDA, but it's really looking at the expectation that this will happen in the future. So this was even to give another point, that you can have maybe a company that is investing and losing money at the end of the year. Nevertheless, you have a strong valuation and maybe strong capitalization.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I understand. I understand the decision, for your company to have a feed tech, which is basically taken the minority stake in FRIEM share capital for the acquisition of DIMP in the US as part of the Fondo Italiano Investimenti SGR, and to allow you and the company to strengthen its position in the industrial, commercial, competitive position in the strategic market of the US. Apparently, recent research indicates that from McKinsey that clean hydrogen has the potential to decarbonize a whole host of industries, including aviation, fertilizer, long-haul tracking, maritime shipping, refining, steel, some of the worst emitters of greenhouse gases. And still, according to the same consulting firm, hydrogen could contribute to more than 20% annual global emission reduction by 2050, and could also contribute green hydrogen to reducing production cost by approximately 50% by 2030. How do you feel about this? This will give the scalability of green hydrogen to make it cost effective, hopefully in the medium term, understanding now you need subsidies, incentives, tax breaks to make this industry, infant industry, grow very fast.
Yeah, so let's say how to achieve these targets depends heavily from the policies that we mentioned before, because of course are the policies that then are driving which target you can reach and how fast you can reach those targets. So in Europe, we set up really stringent targets, which is, I think, positive. Now we have to sustain the reaching of these targets. The sector that you mentioned in which green hydrogen is going to be involved are what are called the hard-to-abate sectors, those in which you cannot go directly with maybe renewable energies, but you use hydrogen as an energy vector in order to decarbonize these processes or part of these processes. The market from this point of view will move in different steps, because some of this decarbonization can be applied even in the short term, for example in refineries, because in those, let's say, applications where hydrogen is already used today. In this process, several processes, you use what is called gray hydrogen, okay, that you can produce from oil or gas, but for the production requires a huge amount of CO2 emission, really a huge amount. And so if you are able to substitute this hydrogen that is already used in these processes with green hydrogen that is produced without emission of CO2, you can start really decarbonizing these processes. And so this is going to be the first, let's say, stage in the green hydrogen. And this will apply, as I say, for example, in refineries, the cement production, and even in the steel production. Other fields are going to be, let's say, an opportunity for the hydrogen as energy vector, like you were saying, logistic, like shipping and long distance tracking and so on. This probably will require a little bit more time, as well as other applications will require a little bit more time, because you not only need to develop, let's say, a sustainable green hydrogen, but you have to develop the, let's say, the process itself, or the technology itself in this business. And so this will require longer, let's say, a longer time and higher investment. The basic ground is anyway depending on renewable energies. So the first comment done on having renewable energies and being able even to have energy independency is going to be crucial, even in applying the green hydrogen into the industry, because the main cost in terms of OPEX, so operational cost, the main cost for green hydrogen production is electric energy. So as far as we will be able to have competitive or cheap electric energy, renewable energy, then we will be able to have cheap and competitive green hydrogen. And so is always the same, let's say, discussion that we did before. We in Europe, we start having some important projects. So especially in green hydrogen, there are already some application projects that are on the industrial scale, which is a good feedback, and it is a good opportunity. In some of the major projects, FRIEM is involved for providing its power converters, and in this case are maybe big multinational companies starting to decarbonize, for example, a refinery in the north of Europe, making this huge plant for green hydrogen, and the electric energy are mainly coming from wind power in this case. There is another major project for the production of green steel. This is always in the Nordic countries, and in this case, the energy will come from hydro. So just to give you a sample that yes, it's feasible. You have some application in which hydrogen is already there, so you can just take out gray hydrogen and put green hydrogen. You must have green hydrogen, and to have it today, the main let's say restriction is given by having the renewable energy available in such a quantity at competitive price.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you very much. This is very useful. By the way, Lorenzo, which sector, according to you, or international market, do you think it's likely to have most benefit from transition to green and renewable energies and sources in years to come? You operate and you serve many sectors and industrial sectors. You mentioned chemicals, and it could be others. Where do you see which sector you see might have the best benefit in terms of green and renewable, not just in Europe, but maybe more internationally? And also, how close are we really to reaching a tipping point in terms of economies of scale, like cost effectiveness, more in general, competitiveness in the use of this renewable and sustainable energy versus fossil fuels, with or without government subsidies? But in this period, of course, we said clearly on both sides of the oceans, everywhere, subsidies and incentives are important. And which of these renewables resources are more likely to become really scalable and abundant? Also, they can get enough storage and to be, not too expensive, sustainable. I'm thinking about what we mentioned, solar energy, onshore, offshore wind energy, green hydrogen, geothermal energy, bioenergy, hydro power energy, ocean energy, and so on. Can we really expect all of this, or some of these, or many of these alternative energy sources to complement one another in a sort of energy mix, optimal energy mix of the future? Or do you expect one to be more dominant than the others, the trajectory in the years to come? In this sense, for example, we hear about deep sea exploration, space resource exploration, next generation nuclear reactors like the SRM, small new modular reactors. These seem to be gain greater attention as a viable and safe, stable power source for mitigating climate change, achieving global decarbonization in the years to come. And last thing I want to ask is the pink hydrogen, meaning the hydrogen produced via electrolysis of water using nuclear power, somehow competing with green hydrogen in the future, or the two things they can get together? The nuclear and green are also getting into the perimeter of the EU taxonomy on environmentally sustainable economic activities by the European Commission. So Do you see this all moving forward with the same chance of generating optimal energy mix in the future, or are we going to see one winner, some losers, or more winning solutions? For example, nuclear, small nuclear modular reactors, and green hydrogen to be probably the best, to have the best opportunities in the future.
So it's a very complex scenario. No, of course, I'm not the best expert in terms of energy. My vision is that, let's say, there is not the perfect source of energy that is going to be just one and the only one, but of course, it will always be a matter of energy mix, as it had been and it will be, unless in, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years or something, maybe will come fusion, nuclear fusion or something like that. But still, it's a kind of scenario that is very difficult to be envisioned today. So yes, of course, there will be a mix. The mix is going to be dependent on the competitiveness of each and every source, energy source in that specific area or in that specific condition. And from this point of view, the renewable energies based on solar and wind already demonstrated to be absolutely competitive in several areas in the world or in several conditions. Let's say, not considering the hydro energy that has been competitive since, let's say, centuries, not only decades. So from this point of view, renewable energies can be competitive, and I think it's going to be a source of mix that will depend from what is available, and so what will make sense to be more developed and so on. In terms of mix, it will be even necessary because of the source itself. Renewable is not continuous, as you commented before, and so probably it will always be anyway a plus or a necessity to have a different mix, because in this case you can not only maximize, let's say, the production and the cost of production of the energy, but you will even optimize the availability of energy during all the day or all the year, and so in this sense, even the cost of the infrastructure and the management of energy. But my thinking is today it's a mix. Tomorrow will always be a mix that will move step by step towards the renewables because of what we discussed today. Mainly, my dream is mainly giving more and more independency to Italy and Europe in terms of energy production. In terms of, let's say, pink hydrogen, of course, this is an invention from France because they have nuclear energy, and so they decided to have green, let's say, hydrogen produced with nuclear energy, and they say, okay, it's pink. Honestly, I don't want to say if pink is close to green or not. Okay, this is I'm not very good in colors, let's say, so I leave this to someone else. My comment comes back to what we discussed before. We need policies to manage this. We need policies that must balance, and so can pink hydrogen be competitive? Yes, but depends from the policy. If you put different valuation or different incentives, if it is pink, green, blue, gray, this will define what will really develop in the future or not. I'm more worried. I'm much more worried, not what, let's say, remains within Europe, because You mentioned before, for example, we have a collaboration with McPhee, that is a French company, and they are doing the electrolyzer for green hydrogen. That's fine. So if France is developing this business, anyway, there are opportunities for all Europe to grow, and perhaps we have this kind of agreements even with other, let's say, manufacturer of electrolyzer. So that's fine. I'm much more worried about how the policy, the European policies are allowing the European supply chain, the European industry to be and become a major player in the worldwide business, because this is going to be the target. So I'm more worried how the European Union will invest in green hydrogen, but will try to sustain all the supply chain in Europe to be part of these investments and to be more and more leader worldwide in this business. And from this point of view, we had even some, let's say, bad experiences in the past, like we have been talking about solar energy. Europe was leader in solar energy, and we lost completely the production of the technologies connected to the solar energy, because everything went to China, and we were not able, not interested, I don't care, to provide any kind of support to the European industry from this point of view. So I would not like to see again this mistake to happen, and I would like really to see the huge investment that we have to do to incentivize, to subsidize the green hydrogen anyway, to create value inside Europe as well, not only in terms of having a more sustainable environment, that is of course important, but in order even to create, to sustain a new industry that is already there and has all the chances to be there in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very important. More in particular, regarding your organization, sorry if I take all this time from you, regarding FRIEM ESG scores, which factors do you think contribute the most to achieving the best results in terms of positive impact for the environment at your organization? I'm talking about, in particular, things like scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions, or in particular, waste production or reduction energy usage, water consumption, climate mitigation, and biodiversity, or all the things related to the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. Which way do you think that your company in particular is having an important impact on this side in terms of both social and environmental governance, and in particular the corporate social responsibility and sustainability materiality assessment? What is your impression? What are the advancements you see on that side?
Yeah, so let's say we are a relatively small entity, so of course some of these important topics we are addressing or we have been starting to address in the last years. Let's say in terms of social responsibility and this kind of behavior, it's a little bit more natural in a small business and in a family business, because of course you have this kind of, let's say, straight and human approach compared to other multinational company. Talking about the ESG is, of course, it's going to be a key factor, even because we decided that the energy transition is our strategic market, and of course there is focus on the supply chain on these topics, and let's say completely in accordance to what I mentioned before. I would really appreciate if in the supply chain there are strict, let's say, policies in terms of achieving these ESG targets, because this is a way in which our companies can differentiate in a positive way compared to other countries and other, let's say, part of the world, in which, of course, some of these topics are not, let's say, so important. In our production, let's say, we don't have a very, let's say, strict requirements today in terms of environmental impact and so on. And our production is, let's say, quite light from this point of view. Nevertheless, we will have this year for 2023, we will have for the first time an ESG report available for the company. So it's the first, let's say, formal step in this sense. And we will set up in the next few years even our, let's say, more formal ESG, let's say, balance sheet. And regarding the product or the production, let's say none of scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 are really, let's say, heavy. We are almost working on all. Mainly we are focusing on scope 1 as of today, and we already set up several, let's say, small things, but in order to go in this direction, and but we are moving even for scope 2 and scope 3 as well, that will come in the future. So it's as mentioned before,
it's in the pipeline.
it's in the pipeline, and must be a driver for us, but must be a driver, I think, of differentiation for the European industry as well. So everything should be.
It's part of the roadmap. Just thank you very much, Lorenzo. I really have a final question for you. Is since you are doing most of your business globally, internationally, you're really one of the major, although not a big company, you're one of the major global international player, and you work and you do your revenues, your sales, mostly internationally. 90+% of your sales are international, operating all over the world, and you are on a daily basis used to, since decades, to do business with international markets. You're sort of a born global, as they call it, company with a big mission commitment to international markets. So you do business, you engage in business transactions with international players every day. How do you practically manage the selection of your international markets in general? Your feasibility study or decision to we're going this country, that country, we expand here or there in the different business, green hydrogen rather than converters, whatever. When you take decisions like, I'm going to go and open my business in this or that country, looking for new opportunities, what are you really, in general, as a methodology, to know you specifically your detailed activities, but what is a methodology? What are you really looking at? What's on your radar? You look at subsidies, sustainable finance opportunities and market potential, complementarities between your capabilities and the demand of the local market, local competitive pressure, the economic fundamentals of the countries. What are the factors that you really take into consideration when you put together your case study, your feasibility study in selecting new international market expansion projects? So since you do it regularly, because you do business mostly globally, how do you go about? What are the key elements on your checklist that you look for when you select and assess and select new markets to grow? This is just a methodological question, but it's always very interesting to know a big international player, how they do select international markets.
Yeah, so basically, we work in several countries worldwide. We have installed our equipment in more than 90 countries worldwide. And so from this point of view, let's say we are used to have this kind of business in different countries with different cultures. In terms of selecting the markets, being a small company, a small entity anyway, we start maybe from a top-down, let's say, analysis, so trying to have the insights or the prospections of a market, and even in terms of the country, the risk of the country, and let's say the environment in terms of business and possible, let's say, industrial presence inside this country. But then we rely a lot on a bottom-up analysis. So typically, we try to have a direct or straight experience in these markets in order to understand how far is from our way and our culture and our values. From this point of view, the main driver is typically let's say the market opportunity. This is of course the main market, and then basically depending on the size of the market opportunity, we can decide whether having a sort of investment or presence or another one. So if it is just maybe we rely on a local agent, a local partner, as we do in several countries, or we set up even maybe
foreign direct
a subsidiary with maybe different level of structure in terms of sales support, after sales support, and so on. And so the bigger, let's say, the market, or the bigger are the opportunities, of course, the higher can be the kind of investment. The second main driver, so one is of course the market opportunity, because of course we really try to have this from the very beginning. We have been always very cautious in making investment and doing step-by-step investments. So that's why, let's say, this bottom-up approach has always been, let's say, the main one. The second driver is, of course, how far is this market compared to FRIEM positioning. So how much can FRIEM be accepted in the market in terms of brand, in terms of product, and so on. So the other main driver is how far it is. So in some countries or in some areas you may have maybe huge potential, but the gap to be covered are too big, and so maybe in the past we decided to go in other countries where maybe the market opportunity was smaller, but the gap seemed to be smaller. And so this is, let's say, a mix between opportunity and gap, let's say, to be covered, which is then very interesting, because of course this sort of analysis are then driving all the project. If we decide then to set in a country, from really this first analysis, you set up all the action plan to cover the gap.
Absolutely. So you may decide to go for a green field or brown field, or understanding the institutional voice. Anyway, you have to work on also the country risk and all the opportunity versus the complementarities, or the synergic opportunities, or the potential threats that you might encounter. Yeah, that's very interesting. Really very interesting. I wanted to ask this question because it's always very exciting to understand how companies think and plan when they assess and evaluate market opportunities internationally, and what are the key factors they're actually considering, both on the hard data and let's say more soft cultural and other aspects that may be considered in the assessment.
Yeah, from this point of view, in your question, you were mentioning even incentives. For us, would be a second step. So we are not going into a country because there are incentives. We are going into a country because we decided that this is the right way. And then we look maybe for incentives if these are available. This can impact maybe more on how much you invest or how fast you grow. But usually this is not a main driver for selecting a country.
Yeah, of course. There is a big consideration about whether it's just a marginal business or whether it's a strategic long-term business. So you might want to go with a subsidiary, with FDI, with a more direct presence. If the country is worth the investment in the long run, it's a higher potential. So that's very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Lorenzo, you've been extremely kind to dedicate all this time to us and to explain all this beautiful vision about the future of energy and sustainability and sustainable energy, and the future of your company. So I thank you very much. Really, thanks a lot for this incredible analysis, and I look forward to meeting you again and continue these conversations, and to learn much more again about how your company is able to internationalize and where do you see the market going in the years to come. Thank you very much, and have a great continuation of your activities, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you very much, Ivo. It's been great talking to you, and of course I'm always available and excited talking about these matters that are part of our life. So,
absolutely. Thanks for your great contribution, really, and your time. It was very appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Bye. Take care.